Landstalker is a top-down isometric action-adventure game starring Nigel, a blonde elf with a backpack and a sword traveling to a land in strife, where you deal with problems affecting the locals, travel the world, and enter dungeons that require problem-solving. Hold on, I forgot my glasses. Let me put them... here we go. Okay. Alundra is a top-down action-adventure game starring Alundra, a blonde elf with a backpack and a sword traveling to a land of strife, where you deal with problems affecting the locals, travel the world, and enter dungeons that require problem solving. Believe it or not, these games are not related world, character, or plot-wise. Same devs though. If you look at the gameplay, I'm guessing another title springs to mind. Zelda. And I can see why. It is the easiest analog to compare Alundra to. It was a common comparison when the game was released. All the ingredients are there, but the results are different enough. Something I'll touch on later. If Zelda is an expertly baked vanilla cake, with everything being finely measured, cooked by some of the best chefs in the world, Alundra is a black forest cake with a gun in the middle. It's a fantastic cake, and the gun is made of dark chocolate, but you still feel threatened. We open on a boat sailing on the sea. The calm, glistening water and lovely breeze is enjoyed by all the passengers. Alundra stands at the stern, contemplating why his dreams brought him to Tolia, and as he drifts deeper into thought, the fucking seagulls make this horrendous noise. This is through the entire intro. You will not escape this noise. Ignoring the squawks, we talk to the crew, learn the controls, and before we get attached, the boat immediately gets destroyed by a storm. Washed up on the beach, Alundra is saved by Jess, a local blacksmith. Upon talking to the locals, we learn of an old man who is plagued by a nightmare that is actively killing him. His family ask if you could bring Septimus, the local scholar. Septimus is at his wit's end when he sees Alundra's scar and believes him to be the Dreamwalker. He asks you to visit a local manor to find a book that will aid him. We leave the village and the game starts proper. The whole intro to Alundra feels like a setup for a sucker punch a bit later. It's certainly a heavy game, if a bit dark at times, if you care about the people of the village. I'm just going to put it out there for other people. The villagers deal with child loss, religion blaming the other for their problems, and losing family to religious extremism, regret for not changing soon enough, and losing the ability to create. Some of them are even cursed. Nadia cannot sleep or else she destroys things in the real world. At one point, she admits to being awake for 7 days straight just to spare the people around her. So if you're sensitive to these topics, consider giving the game a miss. After finding the book and helping the old man, the local mine collapses. The person who escapes dies, but there might be a chance for the people inside the mine. Alundra steals a bomb and makes his way inside the mine, in hopes that he might be able to rescue the people inside. But one by one, you find everyone dead. From this point forward, never expect things to just work out because you are the hero. A few reviewers in 1997 lamented the color palette for Alundra, commenting on its drab, earthy greens and general desaturation. And I can understand their opinion without game context, but as the game went on I grew to love the overall look of Alundra. The foreplay is frustrating, but the climax quite satisfying. Thanks, IGN. Alundra's animation himself is pretty decent. Anything with a commitment has enough frames, like his attacks, bombs, magic attacks, etc., but it's generally on the lower count. His jump, for example, is only a single frame, but you can snap to all 8 directions while in the air, so we give that one a pass for controllability. Characters get an idle bob, enemies have cool animations, when you're not stun locking them, but I think it's the environments that shine. The construction of everything needs to conform to a grid, so it's going to serve gameplay first. But when something is more puzzle-focused, we get these rooms that serve little purpose other than world building. And the detail on some objects is fantastic. It makes me a little angry that there's like 4 dungeons that take place in caves. When gameplay is more focused on action, the rooms start to look more sparse, but the walls of the rooms, with extra decorations here and there, keep the vibe going. We are not limited to just traditional locales, no. We also have the nightmares. Unfortunately, half the nightmares look like floating islands, but the later half start to flex. We have the dream of someone who keeps to himself and hunts alone. The dream of happier times before the world showed its true colors. Dreams of a reflection of someone else. Even at its worst, it still fits the mood of the area. a mood that will be broken down again by the perspective. I have a question for you. Am I above or below this object? What about this one? Or this one? The only way to know the height of terrain is to view it from the front, something you can't always see, so expect to fumble a bit while exploring and jumping. I don't think the problem is as bad as people at the time made it out to be, but to ignore the problem and say it doesn't exist is ridiculous to people who might struggle because of it. It's a weird wrinkle in figuring out some of the puzzles. Speaking of puzzles, we should touch on Alundra's dungeon design. Looking at it, you think it was the standard fare. Jump into a dungeon, slay some monsters, solve a puzzle or two and get a cool item, and kill the boss. But that's only a handful of the dungeons in Alundra. The rest of the dungeons are much more focused on melting your brain with puzzles, and Alundra has a shit ton of them. The easiest of them is probably the movement puzzles. Can you figure out a route to this platform? Press the buttons without touching the ground. Time your jumps between platforms, that sort of affair. But then the movement puzzles can also be combined with execution puzzles. Push these blocks in the right area to hold down switches or to create platforms to bridge gaps. Time button presses or attacks to create the desired outcome. Match these floor symbols to flash between each other with the matching blocks. Then we get the comprehension and interpretation puzzles that do not pull a single punch. Left is left and right is right. Push these levels in the right order. If that does not work, shake it up a bit. The engine is quite old. Remember this pattern, but be careful. It needs tweaking to work in the mirrored area. Some of these puzzles legit stumped me for a while. With combat being generally de-emphasized, all the puzzles and all the forms they take got to breathe, and it was a nice change compared to other games in the genre. I had a blast figuring them all out. Well, not all of them.
Oh, okay. Oh, no.
Localization is a delicate process. Not only do you have to convert one language to another, but also preserve the context, or if the context cannot be translated, create a new context. There were 2 puzzles that flat out beat me, and a third that frustrated me thanks to the wording. But the problem is I don't know if it's a perfect translation and the original devs meant it to be something you had to decipher, or if the team that localized it picked the wrong words. Let's show them off. First is a color puzzle, where a bunch of saints tell you about their teachings, and you have to figure out which order they rank in. There's some things that threw me off in this. Blue is stating that he's never listened to Green. Is that literal as in he has never heard of him? Or does that mean he never bothered to listen? White's teachings surpass all other teachings. Surpass. Surpass as in he's the first, or surpass as in his teachings are the best? Brown respects my teachings far more than is necessary. Respects, like, does that mean Brown respects the opinion too much? It's not as valuable as it's supposed to be, or... I completely missed the correct line of thinking, believing that White was first. But after breaking down and asking friends for a hand, they all got it correct, so I'm willing to take an L on that puzzle. Then we have the switch lever puzzle. I do not like the switch lever puzzle. Here's the setup. 2 levers are in a locked off room. The switches outside open the door on the other side of the room. You cannot press a switch and get to the other side in time. All you have to do is press the left one once, then the right one once, then the left one twice, and the right one twice. Sounds simple, right? But the clue upstairs uses the words switch and lever interchangeably. So you're sitting there like, oh, these levers must be hidden in order, but I can't get to them. And in retrospect, it sounds super simple, I know. But 2020 vision is awful, and you did not have to listen to this goddamn music for 30 minutes, okay? Like, when they turn one of the characters into a surfer, and he speaks entirely in surfer lingo. By the way, I don't live in America. I can't decipher this shit. I have no fucking clue what he's saying. So when I see that, and it looks like they didn't want to bother translating what he actually said, then I get to a puzzle that interchangeably uses the word switch and lever. A lever is a switch, but a switch isn't a lever. Do you understand why it's confusing? I want to point out that the music in Alundra isn't that bad. I actually really like the OST of Alundra. You've been listening to it the entire time. There's some really good tracks. The Hunter's Dream probably is my favorite. It's just that one track and another one, which I guess I'll play here real quick. I'll just listen to the intro. Just listen to it. And then listening to this, you hear the sound effect of the enemies. And the sound effects in this game can be bad. How about listening to the belching turtles? Not your thing? Okay, then consider the phlegmy teleports. Nope, still not bothering you? Alright, experience the Screaming Phoenix! You thought that jab against the seagulls was a one-time joke? No! The sound effects are just all over the place. Some are fine. Others are drunk beatboxing. I've been thinking about talking about the story. Maybe give a summary and a spoiler tag somewhere, but to be honest, I think the overall story is fine. Not bad, alright good, but for me the events in the story were way more interesting than the overarching story. And picking them out and talking about them, context-free, is kinda silly considering how much said events will hit you depends on how much you even like the villagers. After every major event and dungeon I would run about town, checking up on everyone. And to my surprise, every time they'd have something new to say, while also being somewhere a little different. Some characters would be away from their house, so the house would be locked. Or worse, don't want to deal with you today because of recent events. As the game goes on, some of the villagers start blaming Alundra for the problems. When Septimus asks you to go to Tarn Manor, you can wander off and explore the world. One place being a holy shrine that the people often pray to, and you can find a family member of the grandfather pleading to the gods to spare her father. Before the mine collapses, you can go and talk to the miners and introduce yourself. There was no need for that level of detail, but the devs put it in anyway. So when you hear this noise, I could explain the context and why it scared the fuck out of me, but if you only care about the game part, this is just a roadblock towards the next dungeon. Alundra gets misremembered as that PS1 Zelda game, but just calling it like Zelda does not convey its great puzzle design nor its dark moody tone. It fumbles at its execution a couple times and has annoying bird noises, but the stellar presentation lets you vibe out in a more mature game. Highly recommend for those who have played through Zelda's catalog and wants more 2D. Did you know outros are hard to record if you don't have a script or just talking out your bloody ass? There might be some out there that are disappointed I didn't talk about the whole working designs changing the game balance. Especially now that the unworking designs hack is out there. Something that changes the values back to the Japanese version. I'll leave a link about that in the description. And I thought about playing through it and maybe trying something about it, but I give myself a 2-week limit to work on everything that I do, and Alundra's a beefy game. Alundra took me 24 hours? Guys, if you're wondering why I didn't talk about it, and I didn't have time to, or investigate it myself. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye. That's all I got. Bye. That's all I can bloody think about. Bye.